Hi there, crafty friends. This is Irene with Artemis Made, and I'm so glad you stopped by today. So, today's card is one I could talk about for hours because I just love it, but I will do my best not to drag on. I'm so sorry, it's low hanging fruit. It was right there. But stick around because there is a fun keepsake surprise with this card. I just love, and I hope you love it too. So here you can see some of the supplies that I used today, a mix of different companies that I really love. My favorite things, waffle flour, whimsy stamps, lots of different fun goodies. So first we're going to start with our card base. It's a standard A2 card, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then the card front is going to be 3 3/4 by 5 inches. Now there's another element here that we're going to cut down, and it's going to be that special keepsake surprise. It is a bookmark. So it's going to be 1 1/2 inches by 5 inches. And then we're going to score the different things that are going to be folding. So first we need to fold our card base. So we're going to fold that at 4 1/4. And the bookmark we're going to fold at the 2 inch mark. Now, one thing to note, the bookmark, I said 1 1/2 by 5, but it's technically just a little bit under, like one little ruler tick mark under 1 1/2 inches by 5, and I'll explain why later. So here I am going to do some ink blending. I am using the My Favorite Things Through the Clouds stencil set. It's got some outlines, it's got a mask in the middle. It's a really versatile set, but I will be honest, I wasn't quite sure how to use it at the beginning, and I might have not done this quite the way I should have. But then again, is there really any should have in art? Not really. You do what makes you feel good and what you like, basically. So I put a little bit of ink down, and then I turned the stencil. But first, random sloth sighting. My little buddy Sticky's going to help me out. So I've got the center now, the mask, and I did blue on the outside, and I'm doing a purple layer on the inside around that inner mask. And I used the smaller blending brush from Simon Says Stamp just to add a little bit of darker contrast around the outside edges. So you can see the blue is a little darker around the edges, and the purple also is a little bit darker around that ring. So now we're going to move on to some die cutting. This is the inverted scallop set from Whimsy Stamps. I use it a lot for making artist trading cards, but today I'm using the centermost piece to cut out this stitched rectangle. Okay, so now we're going to do a little bit of stamping. I am using the Waffle Flower Book Sentiment stamp. I really like the different stamp sentiments that are in this set, and they're really good for book lovers. So I'm going to stamp on this little strip, and the strip is going to go sort of on the inside of my card, sort of not. I'll have to show you what I mean because it sounds a little confusing. But it's going to be a birthday card overall, and the part of it that's sort of on the inside, sort of not, is going to say, Hope It's Epic. So I'm going to emboss that little area so it's got a little bit of shine to it. But before I get to the embossing, I've got a little more stamping to do. So I'm going to actually put a sentiment on the inside of my bookmark, and it's going to say one more chapter. Now, if you love books like I do, you know that the struggle is real when it comes to putting down that book. It's always just one more chapter. So now I'm looking to stamp my little dragon. I love this My Favorite Things set. It's so cute. So the little dragon is going to be sitting on the bookmark. Now, I only show it here once, but I actually put down ink twice using my VersaFine Onyx Black ink. I stamped it twice just to make sure he's nice and crisp black. And I'm going to cover him too with embossing powder because we're going to color it. So now I'm actually doing my embossing here, the heat embossing. I love watching heat embossing. Isn't it just the coolest thing? And I figure the dragon should have a little magic, so here we go, embossing magic for the dragon. And you can see he's a little bit shiny there, he's a little bit catching the light, very cool. So now we're moving on to Copic coloring. I am not a colorist. I really do struggle with coloring. I will be the first to admit that. But I'm very fortunate to have very talented friends who are amazing colorists and are very generous with their tips and suggestions. So I'm going to continue incorporating the different things they've taught me. In this case, what I'm doing is starting out with a darker outline, and then I move to the lighter color. It's my understanding from the different classes that I've taken on coloring that you want to start with a darker shade because you can always add more light color than you can dark. Because once the dark color is in there, you can only take so much of that away. So I like to do a dark color first on the outside, kind of like an outline, and then I come in with a little bit more of the medium tone, and then the lightest tone should be where the highlight is. Now, my highlight here is a little backwards, but I'm learning. I'm still learning. So, speaking of still learning, the next step is something I have never done before. I recently invested in these toner sheets from Decofoil, and the idea is that I can cut something to size and then run it through a laminating machine like a Mink, or in this case, I use a Gina K Fuse machine with some foil on it, and the foil should transfer to that toner sheet. So I cut it down to size because I'm actually going to end up die cutting out of it. I am using the Gina K foil. So I turn on my machine here and I'm going to transfer that dark, pretty purple foil. I think it's amethyst. And I'm just going to run it through the fuse machine and see if I can actually get it to adhere to the toner sheet. I was having trouble with this when I was not using toner sheets. I was trying to use just glossy cardstock and I was not having very good effect and very good results. And I think it's just because it didn't have toner on it. So I'm learning, like I said, this is still a process. Okay, so we are going to take that center die cut from the Whimsy Stamp set, and I'm basically here cutting out the bookmark card front. So I don't know how else to call it. The bookmark card front. Bookmark front? Front of the bookmark? Whatever you want to call it. The cover sheet. Okay, anyway, moving on. So there you see I've cut it down to size. Now remember, the bookmark itself is just shy of 1.5 inches wide by 5 inches long and scored and folded at the 2-inch mark. So that card front, the bookmark front, is going to be just a hair larger, but it's totally fine. It'll adhere just fine. All right, now we're going to use the matching dies for this My Favorite Things dragon set, and we're going to cut out our little friendly dragon buddy. I'm using my Altenew Blossom die cutting machine because it's a really powerful little machine and it just fits beautifully on camera and it is just tiny and adorable. So, I just love it. And it cuts, look at that, beautifully. It cut perfectly around my little dragon. All right, so here I'm going to take some liquid glue and adhere that foiled card front, bookmark front, I still don't know what to call it, the front of the bookmark to the actual front of the bookmark, I guess. I really need some better names for this, don't I? So the foil is nice and shiny. It picks up the purple in the dragon, and we're not done yet. So I am using here some Zig two-way glue, and I'm putting the glue on the dragon's scales, just a little dot all the way through. And I'm also putting it on his toenails and on his little horns. So what he's about to get is quite the manicure, or pedicure, I guess. He's gonna get another round of bling. Now, this version of foiling is different than running it through the machine. This you don't need any kind of heat to accomplish. All I did is grab some toner foil, use that two-way Zig tacky glue, waited for it to dry a little bit, and then I started putting down the foil and pulling it back up. I'm not sure how well you can see it here, but every time I put down that foil and pull it back up, some of the foil is actually left behind. And that means that the color is transferring onto the areas where I had that glue. So here in a moment, I'll pull it up so you can see it. I did get a little bit of foil somewhere I didn't want it, so I used my Tombow sand eraser and just kind of erased it right off of there. It worked really well. So this is where I got super crafty, and I'm just so proud of this. We have to be really proud of ourselves when we do something we've never done before. So I made my own version of a detachable magnetic bookmark. The material that I use there are some magnetic sheets that I actually use for storing my dies, but I have leftover pieces, and I decided that this would be a really good use for those leftover pieces. Waste not, want not, right? So what I'm doing here is putting some foam tape to elevate that card front. I pasted the strip with that Hope It's Epic sentiment across the center behind that open cutout space. And then I'm going to take my little bookmark and slide it in, and the part of it on the back is going to go behind, and then the front of it is going to cover the front. And then those two magnets are going to link together. So what I just did there was basically latch that magnetic bookmark in place around that centered sentiment. I just love the mechanics of this card. It's so much fun. So I also added a few enamel dots there, and I'm going to take a sentiment here, and I was trying to figure out where to put it, but I don't want to block the bookmark mechanic from opening, so I just put it down in the corner there. So it says happy birthday, and then the recipient can open the bookmark and underneath it'll say hope it's epic. And you can, oh, just look at that foil. I just love that shine. It's so pretty. And you can see the scales are all shiny, the horns are shiny. But I did use a different color there. I believe it's wild lilac. So it was a softer purple there. Now here is the bookmark in action. So it magnetizes to itself when you slip it on the card or when you slip it over a book page. See, you can just close it right there, it closes right up, and then you can just open it back up and slide it back off of the card. I just love this mechanic. Thank you to Craft Roulette for giving us some parameters that were really, really fun, really innovative, really got those creative juices flowing. So the ultimate project here was a bookmark on a card. The colors were bakery, and I used vegan blueberry cheesecake. That was the purples and the blues. The element was large animal. The random parameter was horizontal lines. So my large animal, of course, is my dragon, and the horizontal lines were these stitched lines around the perimeter of the center stitched rectangle. So that's it. I hope you really enjoyed this card. I really had a great time making it, and I just can see myself making so many more of these. So I hope you give it a try too. And if you have any questions, please share them with me below. I'd love to hear about them. If you like this video, if you enjoyed it, I would just love it if you could give it a thumbs up or even consider subscribing, and that will help the YouTube algorithm see that there's something here worth sharing with others. So thank you again so much for your time, for enjoying this with me. I appreciate you. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I hope you grab some paper and craft something that really makes you smile. Take care. Bye.